Yeah, don't ask me what the fuck just happened. When I say the internet went out, I mean it went out. It was instantaneous, gone. Gone. So, yeah, that was fun. Yeah, dude, I'm hardwired into the internet and it went out. I'm not even running off Wi-Fi because it's too hard to stream this much data through Wi-Fi. That's for sure. Oh man, that's crazy. It might only be me and you, homie. Easy, yeah. I don't know what happened, man. The beach, what up? Yo, sometimes I'll be wondering, like, how long YouTube's gonna let me do the things that I do before they say that's it. Anyway, yeah, we're back. Joe Black, welcome back. Now, what the fuck are we gonna do now? Well, that was the last beat that I had in my inbox. I know what I'm about to do next, but I kind of want to wait till everybody gets back. Yeah, that was nuts. It definitely happens though, so what you gonna do? Already rolled up, man. Now what do we do, everybody? Yeah, what the fuck do we do now? Shit. I was I was finally going to do behind the mix for no contest because I was able to finally convert that session to a usable format today. I guess I'll do it anyway because why the fuck not? Oh, shit's kind of sideways now. I feel like I'm tilted. Having technical difficulties over here, man. There it is. Yeah, I need to lead. Like that. There we go. Camera got kicked sideways somehow. I'm not fixing it. Alright, now let's get back to what we were going to do. So, we literally only have two of these left. So, the interesting thing with this one is this was recorded I haven't converted snakes yet. That's the only one we got left. For some reason, I did it at 96K. I don't know why the fuck I did something like that. And this system won't open it. So I'll get it. That'll be the last one we'll do. But so this one was recorded at Alchemist Studio out in LA. So no 2-track necessary because Al already had the stems for this beat. So essentially, all we start with is Al stems and P's vocals. Naked.
Now listen, ladies and gentlemen, we have something that we're about to do that has never been done before on the radio station.
Welcome. Yeah. I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grass roots, they too deep, I don't budge. The mainstream comes to me. See a flower, don't know its power, it just is, it's just nature for me to flourish and grow big. The Most High made me perfect, my flaws are a thing of beauty, character and uniqueness. I love myself, if I don't then who will I? Wanna be just like the man in the mirror, cause who could ask for more? He look good, rap good, he got it going on. Like the Egyptian god, the young pharaoh, build pyramids with money stacks. Now yo, I don't compete, I just create. I speak my piece, I don't debate. It's no argument, no contest. You know what it is, what I said. I don't compete, I just create. I speak my piece, I don't debate. It's no argument, no contest. You know what it is and heard what I said.
So that's what we start with, but not at Alchemist's 0 levels. Clearly, you could tell the difference between this and what we ended up with. So let's begin the journey. Yeah, I'll roll up in the middle. So, as always, you're going to set up mixes like it's on a console. And I don't know who set the standard of the drums being on the left and the kick being channel 1, but it's always like that. And, you know, I'm American. We read left to right, so always start with the drums. Have always said the drums are the most important thing. I like to do a drum mix and then, you know, move on and then mix those drums into whatever else. So that's typically how I would do things, and it's exactly how the fuck I'm going to do this one. So let's get a good loop somewhere. You guys know that I exclusively use API compression on drums because those were always the drum compressors in the studio. You'd always use those because they're very punchy. So I have always tried to mimic an analog studio within a mix setup. Now remember, this is Alchemist we're talking about. He spends a lot of time mixing his beats. Like a lot. So I'm not going to change a whole lot of what he does because he's not going to like it. So you'll see a lot of these needles are barely going to move. Look at that. Barely touched. Just a boost on the sacred frequency at 45 hertz. Cut out at 500 so the snare can have a hit spot. And that's it. 3 and 4 should be. I put that on reverb this time. Interesting. Let me activate all the buses. You guys know I love reverb on the snare. I mean the kicks. Now, one way to make sure that the reverb or the kick isn't too wide and spacey is to go onto the bus head and pan them both to the center. So that kind of hollow, spacey third dimension that you're creating with the reverb will be centered right behind the kick anyway and not around it. Bus 7/8 is a delay. Did I even add a delay to this one? No, I didn't. Got a bad loop going. .808. So you can see a boost at 33 hertz because the kick already has 45 on it. Dip it out around 200. I bet that's probably 210 on the dot. It is. Because that's where the presence of the vocals are going to be at. You don't want them fighting each other. And then shelf off everything you don't need on the top end. It's an 808. Who fucking cares? A little bit of a limiter on it to tuck it behind the kick. See how the 808's in front of the kick? It's a little bit of limiting, not even really compression, just limiting where that 808's going to go. Allow the kick, the punchy part of that kick, to get in front of the 808. And now they're kind of working in unison and not against each other. No, I didn't use any of those. Alright, snare time. I got a bad loop going. One too many. Let's fix that bullshit. His snares are always so clean and snappy. Reverb. You see what adding the reverb to that snare did? There's this 808 that's big and round. The snare easily snaps over top of that. They're not even fighting each other. But adding the reverb to that allowed some of that snare, the echo off of the wall that you've created, is now around that 808. It's all about spacing. Everything is about spacing and dynamics. You have way more space than you think to utilize, and you should use all of it. So the tape delay just was timed to hit right behind the snare, like so close, because tape delay is always really quick behind it. But what that also does is when you activate that tape delay, it also, what you're sending to that tape delay is also now added into the total dynamics and will be affected by the reverb that you've added. And that is essentially creating just a little bit of a shadow behind the snare, just to fill in a little bit of a gap that's still there, because it's not even a little gap, there's a huge gap there, because that 808 and kick are so low and the snare's all the way up here. There's a mile of space in between them. But you have to think fourth dimensionally, because that's where the vocals are going to go. So on these toms, I added a harmonic distortion engine. As you can see, it's pretty wild on one axis. Slight filter, some dynamics, and a lo-fi delay. I guess I'd be going for that 80s feel on the toms, acute. It's crazy because that's literally it with the drums. Alright, so you know what it's time for. It's time to roll the fuck up as I get to the second half of this. So, part of the genius in Alchemist is just the sprinkles, salt and pepper things, the seasoning he adds to the loops that he finds. And this beat is a prime example of it, because it is essentially just a loop. But there are 5 different things that he added in that just stab, that are completely random, that make the beat 100% complete. And P ready, if that's what you want to say. And without those, I mean, it's not that it's not a dope beat. All Al's beats are dope. What are we talking about here? Dope part is just the simplicity to add those little tiny things in the right spots is everything, and Al's an absolute master at that. So this is the loop we're talking about. So you can hear it's really loaded to one side. So you can see the first thing that I'm going to have to do is try to find a way to balance that out a little bit more while not deviating too far from what his original intention was. But it's way too overloaded on one side for me to leave it like that, that's for sure. So let's get to fucking work. Slight EQ. Now here comes the real EQ. We'll do these one at a time. You can see how extreme I had to make some things to try to balance this out, but I mean, we'll get there. So you can hear the whole purpose of what I'm doing here. We'll go step by step. With this EQ, really trying to just get everything tucked into one pocket on one side so that I can spread that apart, essentially. The compression on this just allowed the bottom end of the piano to ring out a little bit more. And then alright, so you can hear a huge difference in what just happened, and I want you to look at something. I used exactly. So I ended up using the exciter aspect of the alloy, Isotope Alloy 2, not like I normally would. So you can look at the settings. The drive is on 0. I'm not adding any harmonics at all with this. The mix is at 0. Literally adding nothing. I pushed it all the way to the warmth because it's just the one that felt right out of the 4. And I took the width setting and pushed it to 100. So essentially I'm using the exciter engine on this Isotope Alloy 2 as a widener. Because I just like the way it felt versus the other plugins that are actually made for just this. So, I mean, I tried all of them, and I just like the way this one works. It's so easy. You can feel it instantly. Now remember, this Alchemist we're talking about, so I don't want to change what he's done too drastically. So it's more about just kind of enhancing what he's done and making it bigger. So now it's time to pull out the doubler. And you can see that on this doubler I put both of them to the opposite side so that we can now fill in the other side. So you can feel it now. We have not abandoned Alchemist's original vision of how this was set up with everything kind of loaded to one side. We've now just expanded it because I've left the piano by doubling and widening it the way that I did instead of using just a stereoscope or an image widener. what I was able to do is keep the piano just on one side, primarily the high end, and kind of move everything else over to the other side. So let's go back to what it sounded like in the beginning. Just a little bit of work, and now we got something to actually work with. Reverb. So you can see now we can fill in that other side a little bit more, but not too much. So on our reverb send, and I imagine 11 and 12 is the tape delay. On the tape delay, they're going to be slightly tilted to that open side. So instead of it being even, we are at 67 and 47, which is going to tilt it just a little bit to one side, which is the whole fucking point. You can see on the tape delay, this is the final piece and filling in that gap. It's panned at 100, and then instead of the other side, even just slightly, it's actually flipped over to the other axis, and now both stereo parts of this aux bus are going to be on one side in order to fill in the rest of that gap that's open, if that makes any sense. Time for some drums, y'all. So I wanted to, I forgot to tell you, now you can kind of feel it. The vision, if you want to say something as grandiose as that, for this kick was heartbeats. I wanted it to sound like a heartbeat. Especially because what he's talking about. And it kind of felt like a heartbeat. So that was the whole spin on it. So typically, now that the loop is kind of set up in the pocket and the vision and the space heat is set, now I wouldn't just go back and just add a kick and then add that and be like, oh, this is, everything fits exactly where I want it to. I would go back to that kick and now go to each plug-in, each pan setting, each send, everything, and reshape that kick now to fit in the spacing that was left in the main loop. These behind the mixes are a little bit oversimplified. But I'm also showing and explaining how I mixed a record that took me probably 30 hours, to be honest with you, in 30 minutes. So it's going to be truncated. You can really hear it if you solo with just the drums. I mean, it's a solid drum mix, but it's not really like an incredible drum mix on its standing on its own, because that wasn't the point. The point is to get the drums to fit within this pocket. Alright, time to add some Alchemist things. All these dope things that he does. And they more come in the beginning, so let's just start from there. So now, you have to think that everything we've done has made, Taylor, what up, has made all of this bigger. So now all those little stabs and sprinkles that Alchemist put in there, we have to make them fit where they should. So, woo, fucking blunt made my voice crack. So, just on that this little sample in its own. Let's just mute these real quick. So just did that. I use a filter, a retro cheap digital harmonic engine, because it sounds like an old school, like cheap digital sample anyway, so why not enhance that? The Convolve engine, which I don't have the library anymore, so it actually, the impulse response library, so it actually works, but I can't show you how to use it because I have to go get the library again. And then a compressor, but it's a huge difference from here. I mean, after all, we gotta fit it inside of this. Everything gets reverb in my world. So let's go over to the next thing that Al added. R.I.P. to Biz. He just got a street named for him in his hometown. The street he grew up in just got named Bismarcky Way, I believe. So same thing on Biz's little stab. Filter, a drive engine, and this one was the Crunchy Grunge. Functo, what up, homie? A compressor and a delay on this one in order to bring this one out. I also sent Biz's vocals to the main harmonics engine that I always use. So that's how much attention that I put on that, just that little sample. I mixed it like it was real vocals. Alright, so let's add the hoarded. Alright, gotta control that. Same thing, dynamics, trash. What filter did I use on this one? Cheap Digital again. Makes sense. I also filtered the harmonic engine, which is why I love this plugin so much, because it allows you to do an absolute ton within one plugin and add all kinds of harmonic layers. And you know me, it's all about layering to create the third and fourth dimension. So I love this plugin. They should sponsor me. This is the first thing I actually used to delay on. You can see that one side of that horde delay, I actually automated it to move from one side to the other. So let's see if we can catch that on its own. See, all it does, it doesn't move from here to here. What it does is it stays in one spot because the other side, since it's stereo, is already there. So that one is, the overloaded side is the dominant side. The weaker side of this stereo sample, instead of it feeling like it's going to go this way, it actually feels like it fades behind, and that's the whole point. See, now that delay, instead of it moving, feel like it's sweeping, it's actually moving away from you in one spot. So spacing. Alright, let's add in the next sample. See, that one's kind of hard to hear in the original track. This Come On. So you can tell I did the same thing, but the opposite direction with this sample. Now, I used a lot. Same setup as always. I really utilized the shit out of this one. I did not use a trash harmonic engine on this one. Interesting. I was that in the ladies to fill in the last gap. Wow. Went retro with this one too. This is probably the only time I've ever used this setting. Ever.
Now listen, ladies and gentlemen, we have something that we're about to do that has never been done before on a radio station.
So could you imagine doing all that work on the drums and everything to beef them up and then not doing anything with the original sample? It would sound like this.
Now listen, ladies and gentlemen, we have something that we're about to do that has never been done before on a radio station.
But it's dope and everything, but it's not this. Let's get our loop set up. Alright, so I did something in this one that I rarely would ever do. And let's expand this and I will show you exactly what I'm talking about. As you can see, the panning on this one, 9732, 5915, 2864, 848. Very few things are panned so that they will create a phantom center because everything was so overloaded to one side. So, Manny Capone, thanks, homie. I did something that I never do, and this is probably the only track I've ever done this with. You can see on P's vocals, they're not in the center. Since everything is so overloaded with the sample to one side, and this is all open, the open gap is more over here, so I kind of just nudged it a little bit towards the open gap. And I forgot that I did this until I saw it. But I know exactly why I did. It's just this is definitely the only track I've ever done that with. But that's a way to kind of combat spacing issues. It's not extreme. It's not like it's at like 20 or 30 or 50. It's just slightly pushed off to one side.
Concrete garden minus the synthetics. Do your research. My genetics.
Let's see what it would sound like if I put it in the middle.
Grown in the concrete garden.
It's not gonna let me. I wrote it as automation. Hold on. Come on. God damn it. Hold on. Take things to the extreme just to make this happen. There we go. Alright, so now it's in the middle.
I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grass roots, they too deep, I don't budge. The mainstream comes to me. See a flower, don't know its power, it just is, it's just nature for me to flourish and grow big. The Most High made me perfect, my flaws are a thing of beauty, character and uniqueness. I love myself, if I don't then who will I? Wanna be just like the man in the mirror, cause who could ask for more? He look good, rap good, he got it going on. Like the Egyptian god, the young pharaoh, build pyramids with money stacks. Now yo,
so you can feel the difference. It just allowed P's vocals to fit in the pocket that I would normally have in the center, because the pocket's not in the center anymore. It's shifted, so you kind of have to shift the vocals over too. No one will ever notice, ever. No one would have ever known if I didn't just show you guys that.
I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grass roots, they too deep, I don't budge. The mainstream comes to me. See a flower, don't know its power, it just is, it's just nature for me to flourish and grow big.
So you have to think, well, this was just the vocals are kind of shifted over, the snare's in the middle. The snare doesn't have to hit at the same level as the vocals anymore. You could actually have it back up behind it a little bit, because you're going to be able to hear it and feel it, because it has just a little gap to push past the vocals when it's actually played.
I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grass roots, they too deep, I don't budge. The mainstream comes to me. See a flower, don't know its power, it just is, it's just nature for me to flourish and grow big. The Most High made me perfect, my flaws are a thing of beauty, character and uniqueness. I love myself.
So with P's vocals, this plugin, that Isotope Alloy 2, I use basically this for almost everything. The EQ, cut out at 310 because that's where P's presence is at. Shelf it at 72, a little bit over 65. Just cut a little bit of it off. It's not a whole lot of bottom end in the beat on this, so kind of want to focus on the bottom end of the drums and the 808 more, and push a little bit of the bottom end of his vocals out of there. So slightly though, actually just 7 hertz, because the mic is set at 65 to cut it, so there's only 7 hertz of P's vocals that have been shelved off. Not a whole lot. Sacred frequency is 635 pushed for the head chakra. I always say somewhere between 9 and 12 is going to be a spot where the snare is going to hit. This one happens to be rated 952. It was somewhere around 950, but 952 happens to be a sacred frequency, so I just used that math because I was all about the math during this album's mixing. And then a couple boosts up in the high end just to make it cleaner. I used a limiter along with the dynamics. So just to kind of anything that poked out too much, just to get rid of it. And I always use this de-esser, even when it's the only thing on this plugin that I actually use. So why did I use this Pultec? To cut some of the vocals out, a little bit of the thickness, and to add a little bit of 8K. So
I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grass roots, they too deep, I don't budge. The mainstream.
Alright, so the Oro Exciter, this thing is usually set somewhere around 12 to 6. This one's right around 6. At least when I'm mixing P's vocals. That seems to be where I always use it at. And as you can see, 0.39 on the mix setting. Very, very subtle.
I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics, 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need.
So I'm going to add the reverb, and even on the reverb, you can see it here. I pan the reverb to the open gap also, and allowed that snare to have all of its space in the center to hit on its own.
I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics, 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grass roots, they too deep, I don't budge. The mainstream comes to me.
See, you can't hear the reverb really while it's playing. I use the reverb, and you can see I pushed that all the way over to the open gap also, as a means to fill in some of that open gap.
I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics, 100% organic.
See?
The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grass roots, they too deep, I don't budge. The mainstream comes to me. See, a flower don't know its power, it just is, it's just nature for me to flourish and grow big. The Most High made me perfect, my flaws are a thing of beauty, character and uniqueness. I love myself, if I don't, then who will I? Wanna be just like the man in the mirror.
So the idea behind this particular delay on these vocals was to kind of make it sound like that vocal, that radio sample in the very beginning of this track. At least feel like that without you actually being able to hear it by itself.
I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics, 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grass roots, they too deep, I don't budge.
So there's two different delays on these vocals.
I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics, 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grass roots, they too deep, I don't budge. The mainstream comes to me. See a flower don't.
See where the second one's at. The second one's all the way to the other side. And it's actually going to be clear of the actual pianos and everything. So it's going to be way over here, and that's the one you're actually going to be able to hear.
I was grown in a
Very slightly, little.
garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics, 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grass roots, they too deep, I don't budge. The mainstream comes to me. See, a flower don't know its power, it just is, it's just nature for me to flourish and grow big. The Most High made me perfect, my flaws are a thing of beauty, character and uniqueness.
So now, it sounds like chaos when you put them on top of each other because they're not set at the same ping rate, at the same delay setting.
I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics, 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grass roots, they too deep, I don't budge. The main.
Remember, we're filling in this huge open gap that was present in the beginning, but even more prevalent whenever I did everything that I did to the loop. So in mixing, I've always had the theory that when you have a problem, you don't try to fix it, you just embrace it. So that big open gap and everything being overloaded to one side in the sample, I didn't really fix it. I embraced it, enhanced it, and then utilized it because it's there. That space is there. We just have to fill it in. So even the vocal delays were used to fill in that gap.
I was grown in a concrete garden, minus.
Because you can't hear any of this chaos.
I I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grassroots, they too deep, I don't budge. The mainstream comes to me. See a flower, don't know its power, it just is, it's just nature for me to flourish and grow big. The Most High made me perfect, my flaws are a thing of beauty, character and uniqueness. I love myself, if I don't then who will I? Wanna be just like the man in the mirror, cause who could ask for more?
Tape delay time. Let's just thick up the... Now let's fill in whatever gaps are left. We're far from over on the vocals, whether or not you believe it. There's a lot more to do on the vocal bus itself. We haven't even touched that yet.
I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grassroots, they too deep, I don't budge. The mainstream comes to me. See a flower, don't...
So you can feel a huge difference with the tape delay.
I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need.
See, it's funny, you don't really feel it when the vocals are soloed. You can feel it when the music's playing.
I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grassroots, they too deep, I don't budge. The mainstream comes to me. See a flower, don't know its power, it just is, it's just nature for me to flourish and grow big. The Most High made me perfect, my flaws are a thing of beauty, character and uniqueness.
As always, delicate harmonics on the vocals, but just a touch.
I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grassroots, they too deep, I don't budge. The mainstream comes to me. See a flower, don't know its power, it just is, it's just nature for me to flourish and grow big. The Most High made me perfect, my flaws are a thing of beauty, character and uniqueness. I love myself, if I don't then who will I? Wanna be just like the man in the mirror, cause who could ask for more? He look good, rap good, he got it going on, like the Egyptian god, the young pharaoh.
Alright, so time to add some layering on the bus, and then I'm going to solo the vocals and deconstruct all of this so you can really feel it.
I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grassroots, they too deep, I don't budge. The mainstream comes to me.
Alright, so let's get rid of everything. Start with nothing. So you can see how we built this.
I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics.
So Alchemist uses a TLM 103 and a Avalon 737 SP as a bike pre. That's exactly the same thing that we use. I wanted to mimic what Alchemist did because it fits P and P's comfortable with how it sounded and how it felt. So it's a really smooth transition into the home studio.
I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grassroots, they too deep, I don't budge. The mainstream comes to me. See a flower, don't know its power, it just is, it's just nature for me to flourish and grow big. The Most High made me perfect, my flaws are a thing of beauty, character and uniqueness. I love myself, if I don't then who will I? Wanna be just like the man in the mirror, cause who could ask for more? He look good, rap good, he got it going on, like the Egyptian god, the young pharaoh, build pyramids with money stacks. Now yo,
so the main vocal processing on P's voice as far as plugins, was all about just taming it so it would fit in this off-centered pocket.
I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grass roots, they too deep, I don't budge. The mainstream comes to me. See a flower, don't know its power, it just is, it's just nature for me to flourish and grow big. The Most High made me perfect, my flaws are a thing of beauty, character and uniqueness. I love myself, if I don't then who will I? Wanna be just like the man in the mirror, cause who could ask for more? He look good, rap good, he got it going on. Like the Egyptian god, the young pharaoh, build pyramids with money stacks. Now yo, I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grass roots, they too deep, I don't budge. The mainstream comes to me. See a flower, don't know its power, it just is, it's just nature for me to flourish and grow big. The Most High made me perfect, my flaws are a thing of beauty, character and uniqueness. I love myself, if I don't then who will I? Wanna be just like the man in the mirror, cause who could ask for more? He look good, rap good, he got it going on. Like the Egyptian god, the young pharaoh, build pyramids with money stacks. Now yo, I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grass roots, they too deep, I don't budge. The mainstream comes to me. See a flower, don't know its power, it just is, it's just nature for me to flourish and grow big.
Word, P. So let's count them out because there's going to be a lot. So on the Isotope Alloy 2 EQ, an exciter, compressor, de-esser, and a limiter. So we're up to 5. Six with a Pultec. 7 with an RO exciter added. 8 with the Trash Harmonic engine. 9 with another filter added. 10 with a second de-esser. 11 reverb. 12 one delay. 13 for the second delay. 14 with a tape delay. 15 with the Maserati harmonic engine. And I think that's it. So 15 variables added onto P's vocals at some stage. 15 layers. $15 different aspects prodded over for hours and hours to go from this.
I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grass roots, they too deep, I don't budge. The mainstream comes to me. See a flower, don't know its power, it just is, it's just nature for me to flourish and grow big. The Most High made me perfect, my flaws are a thing of beauty, character and uniqueness. I love myself, if I don't then who will I? Wanna be just like the man in the mirror, cause who could ask for more? He look good, rap good, he got it going on. Like the Egyptian god, the young pharaoh, build pyramids with money stacks. Now yo.
Alright, doubles and ad-libs. Exact same thing, but way less work. Because essentially with your doubles and ad-libs, you're just trying to get them to fit properly with the main vocals. It's not rocket science.
I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grassroots, they too deep, I don't budge. The mainstream comes to me. See a flower, don't know its power, it just is. It's just nature for me to flourish and grow big. The Most High made me perfect. My flaws are a thing of beauty, character and uniqueness. I love myself. If I don't, then who will I? Wanna be just like the man in the mirror. Cause who could ask for more? He look good, rap good, he got it going on. Like the Egyptian god, the young pharaoh, build pyramids with money stacks. Now, yo.
And the only other note on the doubles and triples, ad-libs if you want to call, because it's kind of both of them on that track. So you can see the main vocals were panned at 4 off center. The doubles are at 2. And the triple slash ad-libs are at 0. So essentially it's kind of a wave effect. They're not stacked all on top of each other. It's kind of like made the, since they're off center, made the wave kind of go back to the center, if that makes any sense. This is how I think while I'm doing all this stuff. I don't know if any of this is absolutely necessary, but this is what I fucking did.
I was grown in a concrete garden, minus the synthetics. Do your research, my genetics 100% organic. The earth and the sun provide me with all that I need. Can't dig up my grassroots, they too deep, I don't budge. The mainstream comes to me. See a flower, don't know its power, it just is. It's just nature for me to flourish and grow big. The Most High made me perfect. My flaws are a thing of beauty, character and uniqueness. I love myself. If I don't, then who will I? Wanna be just like the man in the mirror. Cause who could ask for more? He look good, rap good, he got it going on. Like the Egyptian god, the young pharaoh, build pyramids with money stacks. Now, yo, I don't compete, I just create. I speak my piece, I don't debate. It's no argument, no contest. You know what it is and heard what I said. I don't compete, I just create. I speak my piece, I don't debate. It's no argument, no contest. You know what it is and heard what I said. I'm the black rose that grew through the crack in the sidewalk, a miracle baby. Look at me, I made it through the broken glass and the dope needles too. In them little baggies with the residue. You touch me, your hands gon' bleed from the thorns. A defense mechanism that was given by God. I'm not out to hurt nobody, it's not in my nature to do such things. I just live my life until my little time is played and return to the essence from which I came. Until then, get familiar, you would wanna be on my side. Ahead of time, I'll catch a bandwagon ride. Cause when the shit turned violent, the infamous mafia shut down the whole environment. Get 'em. Your infamous Mob Deep, yeah, it forced me to show your dumb ass that shit stink.
Forgot the last ad-lib. So, you can hear it in the hooks. The delays are actually, like, prevalent.
I don't compete, I just create. I speak my piece, I don't debate. It's no argument, no contest. You know what it is and heard what I said. I don't compete, I just create. I speak my piece, I don't debate. It's no argument, no contest. You know what it is and heard what I said.
So, in the vinyl version of this, the thought process was a little bit different because the track listing was different, and this is an idea that never came to fruition. Yeah. You know, it's dope to go through these because rarely am I going to take the time to open these sessions and listen to them from Pro Tools, but they sound completely different from the workstation. So we only got one of these left. One of these days I will convert Snakes into a format that will allow me to do this, and then that will be it. So we're almost done with these impromptu behind the mixes, because I certainly did not say a word to anybody about doing any of this. We just kind of did it with whoever's here. Now in the future I will actually do videos that are like edited of this. I just freestyled the shit out of every single one of these, and we only got one left. So next Thursday is September's beat battle. I talked to Twin today. He told me he was going to tell me who won the beat battle, but he has not told me yet. So I guess we'll know next week. So if you have not got the sample packs and you want in, hit me up. We got a week. Like I said, I did talk to Twin today, so we are still moving forward with this. And I told him exactly what it is that we're going to be talking about on this project that we're doing. And he says, fuck yeah. So that should let you know we're all about to be up to something together. So I'll see you in 2 days for RIP TV. Until then, keep fighting the good fight. The merch shop is this far from being done. I'm actually about to go eat something and then go right into the shop and finish the things that I gotta do. So I will see you guys soon. Let me bring up the theme song. Alright, PP 333. I'll see you Saturday night.
He's one of the dopest engineers in the game. The head engineer exclusively for Prodigy of Mobb Deep. 10 Prodigy of Mobb Deep albums. The Hegelian Dialectic. The Book of Revelation.
It's a pleasure, man. That body of work is crazy. I mean,
Joe the engineer. Now we do this shit, nigga. 333. That's a sign from the heavens. Just look up in the heavens. Look up in the heavens. Where the fuck you
Dopest engineers in the game.